I believe the new president is going to affect my personal finances. Now, this is January 19th, 2025, which means tomorrow we're going to actually be swearing in a new president here in the United States. Now, this president really isn't a new president. He actually was president before, but now is non-consecutively going to be president again. And this is a very, very unique thing in history. And that inauguration and that new presidency is going to start tomorrow. And a lot of people think that the president and the administration is going to have a big effect on their personal finances. In fact, I read an article that came out in October, I believe. So this was during the presidential election. About half of Americans were saying in this article that whoever the president was going to be was going to have a big effect on their personal finances. So there's a lot of that sentiment out there that the president has a big weight on the personal finances of people, or at least they're feeling that way, that the president has a big say in how their finances are going to go. Well, I wanted to come here today to kind of throw some cold water on that and to tell you that it's not the president. It is absolutely not the president that has the biggest influence on what's going to happen with your finances. Guess who that is? It's you. I bet you kind of already figured that. But that is a truth. It's you. The president plays maybe a small role in the administration that surrounds the president. It may give you some advantages. It may give you some slight disadvantages. But the person who really has the most impact is you. You, I often like to say, are the pilot of your financial plane. It's kind of like you're on that runway. I like the analogy of a plane because you got to build some momentum to get it off of the ground. And it's the same way with your finances. You got to build that momentum. And then after you build that momentum, it takes off and it reaches altitude, okay? And then you're cruising there for a while. I kind of call that the building wealth stage of your life. Once you've accumulated a certain amount of wealth, then you need to land that plane. In other words, you need to put yourself in a position and have a strategy to where that wealth that you built will take care of you for a lifetime. But all of this, the ball is kind of in your court. You are the one who can make a difference in your finances. So you don't need to worry so much about what's going on in the White House and be more concerned about what's going on in your own personal finance house, okay? So what I suggest is getting back to the basics, because you can only control a small amount by taking care of your civic duty, and I recommend that, and voting. But if you've done that, you've already done that. Now the presidential administration and the president is in office. And whether you feel like the policies that are implemented will be to your advantage, or that the policies implemented may have some disadvantages for you, however you feel on that spectrum. It's you that has to take control of your personal finances. Because again, the president's inputs into the economy and that, if it does have an effect on you, are going to be infinitesimal and small compared to what you can do by rolling up your sleeves and actually taking some steps to move your finances forward. So what do? What are some steps that you can take to take your finances to where they need to go, no matter how you feel about the presidency? Well, what I would say first, number one, in these steps, and I'm going to just go over a quick step framework of what I recommend. And again, I'm not a financial advisor, but I can give you some of my critical thinking that will hopefully be a catalyst for your critical thinking to move forward in your finances. So step one, where do you start? Where's the first step? Well, it's to get a quick emergency fund that you can access for small emergencies that come up. I recommend $2,000 in something like a high yield savings account so that you can access it if the starter goes out on your car, if the alternator were to go out on your car, if you had any little emergency that you need to capture. $2,000 will usually fit that bill for most things. I think about here recently, the air conditioner went out on my car, and we live in South Texas. It gets really, really hot. And my wife also drives that car, and I definitely don't want her being in a boiling hot car. And so I needed to get that fixed. It was a little over $1,000. So having that $2,000 emergency fund to kind of get started, that baby starter emergency fund, very important. So I would start there. Number two, I would look, do you have a company match for your retirement program at work? And the company match is 100% return on your money. So you want to take advantage of that. I often talk about the S&P 500. Since its inception, it's had basically a 10% return. Well, a company match is 10 times that. It's 100% return on your money. You want to take advantage of that. So one, the starter emergency fund, and then two, look and see if at your work you have a retirement program with a company match, okay? Then I would look at consumer debt, things like credit cards, okay? Think about it. Your credit card has about a 20% interest rate when you don't pay off the balance. That's twice what the S&P 500 is returning. They're using compounding interest in your, against you rather, when you have this credit card debt. It's crazy. Get rid of that credit card debt and other consumer debt. Like maybe you have furniture debt. And I would even throw in here car payments. And we're getting crazy with car payments too. These $1,000 car payments. What are we thinking when we get into that? So you want to get rid of those consumer debts. So let's review again. $2,000 emergency fund, taking advantage of the company match. If you do have that at work, getting rid of consumer debt like credit cards, okay? And then number four, what I would look at is having a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. And this is just highly important because bigger emergencies come along. For us, we actually had a flood at our home, okay? That was a big event for us. And I shudder to think if we did not have that 3 to 6 month emergency fund. What is another example? A job loss. Let's just say with the new administration, they have that organization or that team, DOGE, which is Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are over, where they're going to be looking at government efficiency, and they may be cutting some things in government. What if your particular department or your job is eliminated in the federal government? That would be a job loss for you. Wouldn't it be great to have 3 to 6 months saved so that you could make it through and find new employment and make that adjustment during that time? Just to kind of throw out an example here, let's say that you need $4,000 to cover your expenses. This is to cover needed expenses, not things like entertainment or vacations or anything extra like that, but what you need to survive is $4,000 per month. Well, that means that a 3 to 6 month emergency fund would translate into $12,000 to $24,000 that you want to save for that 3 to 6 month emergency fund. Okay, so we talked about the 3 to 6 month emergency fund. What is the next step? Well, that's where you start to get into the building wealth part. And what I recommend for building wealth and saving for your future and your retirement is an index fund. And I recommend like an S&P 500 index fund. I often call it a boring S&P 500 index fund, or a total stock market fund. So I would look into those investments and do your research there. But that's what I would recommend next. So to review again, $2,000 starter emergency fund. Okay, you want to do that. Then you want to look and see, do you have your company match at your employer? Okay, then you want to look at getting rid of consumer debt like credit cards and things like that. Then you get the 3 to 6 month emergency fund. And then fifth, you can start to look at building wealth. And I recommend taking a look at researching and getting involved with index fund, broad-based index funds like an S&P 500 fund or a total stock market index fund, okay? And that's just kind of quick, some of these steps to go through. Maybe in future videos, we'll actually look at each one of those steps and kind of get more nitty-gritty into it. Some of these suggestions that I have, and maybe some places that you can go to get more information as far as books and different things like that are concerned. But that is what I really suggest for you. Take a look at your personal finances. Don't worry so much about what's going on in the White House. Look at what's going on in your house and with your personal finances. Take control of what you can take control of. You really can't control completely what's going on in the White House. Yes, you can vote. You can certainly, write your congressman and be involved in that. But there's only so much that you can do about what's going on in the White House. But you can certainly take a very, very big part in your own personal finances and actually steering that ship in the right direction as far as getting your finances together and hopefully eventually building wealth over time that takes care of your future, that gives you options, that takes you further in the future as far as your wealth building and building a lifestyle and that is concerned. So take care of your personal finances. Again, let what's going on in Washington go on. Yes, do your civic duty, but make sure that you're taking care of your own personal finances and that you're piloting the plane of your personal finance and getting yourself where you need to go financially. Thanks again for listening.